What a year we have had. And while it's so easy to focus on the negatives, we will not be doing that today on Shaw Spotlight Features. I'm Sarah Smith here in Whistler, BC, but things look a little bit different around here. There's no tourists, the gondola and chairlifts aren't running because the pandemic shut down Whistler Blackcomb back in March. It's definitely been a tough year, but today we are going to embrace the positives that have come out of it. People are getting outside more, they're giving back, they're learning new things, and you can really get a sense of pride for our country and how everyone is coming together. Things have had to change up a little bit when it comes to production with Shaw Spotlight, but our team of producers from across the country have still managed to piece together some great community stories. This first segment highlights the wonderful little things you can see and do when you get outdoors.
There's something magical about hearing or catching a glimpse of a hummingbird. You might not expect to see a hummingbird in the middle of a Canadian winter, but you can in British Columbia. Deanna's hummingbird lives year-round in southern BC and Vancouver Island. It's one of 5 hummingbird species found in Canada and is the only species that doesn't migrate south. Female and juvenile Anna's hummingbirds are primarily green with pale gray chests and bellies. Adult males stand out with iridescent ruby rose heads. Tiny and feisty, these territorial little birds are fierce defenders of their food sources. While these hummingbirds usually feed on insects, tree sap, and flower nectar, hummingbird feeders can be a helpful food source in fall and winter. In a typical day, this hummingbird feeds every 15 minutes, as they need to consume a large quantity of calories to survive. Carefully prepared sugar water can fuel a hummingbird's high-octane lifestyle. During flight, its wings beat 40 to 50 times per second, while their heart beats 1,200 times a minute. No matter which hummingbird species lives in your area, a clean and reliable feeder, and a few good places to perch will entice these little acrobats to share their magic with you.
But I'm still taking another lap. If it's the only thing I can do.
And I thought, you know, that's just like the weed in the ditch. We dismiss it, right? We don't look at the beauty of those globes that are actually incredible. We look at a flower, we go, awesome. We look at a weed, we go, nah, don't need it. I'm Monique Martin, and I'm a visual artist.
For an artist, inspiration can strike anywhere, even a ditch beside the highway. It was on a drive that Martin happened to spot dandelions growing while listening to a story about dating apps. She began drawing parallels between the way we treat weeds and the way we treat people.
And how Tinder is causing kind of a social distress for some people. In the right-left swipe, I mean, it's all about how you look, it's all about the external, it's not about who you are as a person. Early books on farming don't have the dandelion as a weed because when Canada was first settled, the dandelion was actually used as a food source. And it's an excellent food source and has all these great things about it. So it's interesting how it evolved and eventually it became a weed. And every dandelion petal in my project has silk screening on it.
After suffering a freak accident and being hospitalized, Martin began to draw inspiration from the dandelion. She says their strength and resiliency helped her to recover and inspired an art project.
I was going through something terrible, and the dandelion was a great symbol for me to hang on to. Because visualize the little dandelion stuck in the crack in the sidewalk. It still blossoms. I start drawing gigantic dandelions on the walls of the hospital. This is their scale. This is how big I drew them. And my room was covered in papers 6 feet tall. And then I could use this tool.
The project was named Critical Pieces, a reference to the fact that Martin illustrated the dandelions by breaking them down into individual components.
Each piece is a critical piece in each human. And something you don't like about yourself, somebody else absolutely loves.
She also incorporated more life-sized versions of the dandelions. Many, many dandelions.
Again, I did this over 2,000 times. There are about 25,000 leaves inked both sides. And because each dandelion has at least 10 leaves, if not more. And the leaves are totally anatomically correct. I used dandelions from the field behind our house and made them exactly how they look. They were also all folded and given creases to look like real dandelions. It's a hugely intensive process. And then I used super sharp scissors and I cut each petal. I did them on trains, I did them on planes, hotels. I left little bits of paper all over the world so that, you know, people wondered, why are all these little yellow bits of paper on the floor? That was me.
And like seeds on the wind, the exhibition continued to travel after the work was completed, as it was sought by galleries around the world.
In the United States, it was part of an exhibition about racism in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and it was curated from all over the world, and they brought 30 artists together, and my dandelions were just set on the ground looking like they were growing there. And that was very exciting. And then there was one in Guelph where they put them in a window and you could see them through the window. And it was beautiful. In San Francisco, they were on the ground. Different places have approached the exhibition in different ways. I don't think about, when I'm creating something, how am I going to sell this? That's not where I start. I start with an idea that I want to share with the world, an idea that I think will change people's lives and change how they see themselves within the world. I got this. I can be like a dandelion. I can make this happen. I can be strong. I can be resilient.
Just like how people tend to ignore weeds, sometimes our environment and our most vulnerable can get left behind. Our next two stories are great examples of a phrase that's become quite popular lately. Not all heroes wear capes.
Having a purpose like this, I don't think you realize how important it is until you're doing it. I had no goals. I never thought I'd ever be busy again or be productive. Hello, it's me.
Hello.
Hi there. Meals.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I grew up in northern BC. I was born in Prince George, lived there for the first 14 years of my life. I worked in construction all over BC as a drywaller for almost 35 years. The toll that my profession took on my body, I'm waiting for knee replacement in one knee. The other knee is not far behind it. Because of it, I have arthritis in my toes. My back is deteriorated. Never smoked a cigarette in my life, but ended up with COPD because of a lot of the asbestos exposure.
Thanks.
Just have a relaxing evening and
We're going to.
eat some food.
We're going to.
Okay.
Thank
See you guys
you.
later.
Okay,
Bye
have a
bye.
good night.
You too. When I first found out I wasn't going to be able to work again, I really didn't know what to do with my life at the time, and before I had disability, I was kind of in a dark place. When I finally snapped out of it and I moved to Cranbrook in August of 2019, I realized that I really need to start doing something with my life. I seen the need for delivering meals to people that had physical disabilities, had mental disabilities, were on the street, people that just were suffering, and COVID seemed to be the right time just because there was so many people out of work and just there was so little resources available.
I moved to Cranbrook to be with Sean December 2019. Sean had actually already started, and then he asked me if I would like to keep going with it, and I said absolutely, because I mean it's such a worthy cause.
We're partners in this, and we both know our things that we like to do in the kitchen, and we just it's just natural. We've had overwhelming support from the community, people wanting to volunteer, do anything. Having all the help just makes the biggest difference because I can only be on my feet for so long. I can't do physical things because I'm out of breath just walking to my car. Without the volunteers, I couldn't be doing this at all. When I first moved to Cranbrook, I had to spend a few nights under the stars. I had no place to go. So I do have empathy for these people. I understand where they're coming from. Hi, Ken.
Hey, how you doing, Chal?
Pretty good. Got some meals for you.
Awesome, thank you.
There's a lot of emotions with some people. Some people break down and start crying. It gets emotional for me.
As soon as I'm able to, I'll help give back.
Okay.
There were days when the only meal I had was what Sean was bringing me to help me out. It takes a lot of putting pride aside to even accept the help when it's offered. It's something that I found really hard, but when I finally did, it meant having food in my belly and a little bit of self-worth, knowing that someone actually did care and was willing to help.
Okay, Ken. Have a good evening. Bye. When I first found out I wasn't going to be able to work again, I was feeling sorry for myself. And just starting this and helping people has just given me all the go I could ever have.
Million Bottle Pledge is my mission to clean up 1 million bottles and cans and beverage cups from our roads and trails and parks all across Canada. The new kid on the block for littering. We're everywhere, unfortunately. Right now I'm doing a Sea to Sky highway cleanup. Backcountry, Squamish. The naysayers may say what I'm doing is a drop in the bucket. I like to think more positive and that it's a little bit inspiring when somebody does see me cleaning up their local neighborhood, then that gives me a little hope that we're headed in the right direction. When the bags get full and I get a little overloaded, I'll reach out with like local people that will help me out, and they'll come along and pick up whatever I leave. I'll try and separate the garbage from the recycling so it's a little bit easier, and then that way I can keep going and focus on the roads ahead. Favorite part about doing this is the awesome people I meet coast to coast. People that will stop and honk and wave or give their thanks. Sometimes I find money, kind of nice. We have a beautiful country when you think about all the rivers and the lakes and the mountains, and I think it's our responsibility, our duty really to protect those resources and keep the country beautiful.
What kind of changes have you made in your day-to-day life? Coming up, we check out new hobbies and skills that Canadians have embraced over the past year.
Are you a content creator looking to expand your audience and make your voice heard in your community? Shaw Spotlight wants to provide you with a platform to share your hobbies, interests, and stories, and all for free. Visit us to find out more.
You're watching Shaw Spotlight Features, and we're celebrating some of the positives that have come out of the pandemic. For me personally, I've loved the extra time I've gotten to spend with my family in and around our home. This next batch of stories makes me think of all the ways that people have had to adapt and pivot over the last year or so. I know my family is definitely not the only one that has started playing more games together.
Doing the traditional band approach didn't really appeal to me because of the safety of others for COVID. So I kind of came up with this idea of trying to do this all percussion thing.
Percussion doesn't really get a lot of attention. And so it's quite good to have people around getting more in percussion.
Doing musical stuff has always been just a passion of mine, and I'd love to do any form of music I can. Mentally, it keeps me sane, I'd say.
It's been a rebirth for me, having done 33 years of the traditional band. Doing something like this is just great. It's all brand new. I'm learning. And kids are learning, so we're all learning together. The improvement in them, and more importantly, the improvement in me.
Yeah, James. All right, man. Good.
That was really good, guys.
Good morning, Winnipeg. We have a chilly week ahead of us. So make sure you got your cars plugged in and you're bundled up nice and warm. Today will be a high of -28 with a wind chill of -40.
When we first moved here, I thought, how are we going to live through a Winnipeg winter? Intimidated by -28, I was shocked to see people outside on the river in the cold. I then realized I could overcome this fear by wearing a ridiculous amount of layers and left to embrace winter. Coming from a place with mild winters, this was a new and exciting world opened up to me. I now understood this was how locals lived here year-round. This was how they endured freezing temperatures. In Manitoba, you don't hide and hibernate from winter. You jump right in.
It was the middle of January, and the weight of midwinter lay heavy on Willi's mind. That wonderful moment when the ice breaks and the rivers start to flow with life and wonder just seemed like a distant dream. Willi did what any ice-locked canoehead would do. It all started out with a beautiful slab of spruce, 7 inches wide and 1.5 inches thick of locally milled, rough-cut goodness. Somewhere in there was a paddle, and Willi was going to find it. Slowly but surely, a paddle started to emerge from the piece of wood. With it came the simple satisfaction of crafting something tangible and real. Each stroke of the plane brought life into clearer focus. The taper of the blade and the gentle curve of the handle, each serving as a quiet rebellion in a loud and fast-paced world. Wasn't perfect, but hey, life's not either. A final wipe down of oil on the paddle signaled the completion of the project. Spring was closer than ever, and the excitement in the air was so thick you could almost taste it. Willi loaded up his trusty red canoe and headed out for the lake to give the shiny new paddle a spin. Well, maybe it was still a little too soon.
We aren't quite through it yet, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we'd love to hear about your pandemic positive stories. So reach out to us, follow us on social media at Shaw Spotlight, and check out all our great content on our website at shawspotlight.ca. We're gonna wrap today's show with a tasty treat. We all certainly deserve one, and this one might just make you take a trip one day to Thunder Bay, Ontario. Thanks for watching.
This is a Persian. Many cities have food that's synonymous to them, and for Thunder Bay, it's the Persian. Created by Art Bennett in the 1940s, the story goes that a Duluth-based general named John Blackjack Persian came by while Bennett was making the dough. After hitting it off, Bennett named the sweet treat after the general. It's similar to a cinnamon bun, but if you've ever had one, you know it's the icing that makes it even more delicious.
After the dough has been made, it is left to rise on the work table. Workers then cut the dough into strips, where it is fed through a machine called a sheeter. Once flattened thin, the dough is sprinkled with a secret cinnamon mixture, and then rolled to hold in that magical flavor. The dough then travels along a conveyor belt to be cut into uniform shapes, and proceeds through an automated system that fries the dough perfectly every time. After the pastry has had time to cool, each Persian is hand-frosted with the special pink icing they are known for.
Now word of mouth has turned the Persian into an icon. The next time you're driving through Thunder Bay, Ontario, why not stop for a Persian?